can move on. It can be spread across. As I was saying, I am not a salesman. I'm not going to woo you with a bamboozling presentation with fantastic looking graphics and beautiful words. No. I am here to speak to you as a teacher. I am here to speak to you as a subject matter expert as to how to pass US CMA. As a team of practicing chartered accountants with more than 10 years of exposure at Apex Academics, we have devised a way to refer, conceptually understand the syllabus, and make sure that students are achieving success in their examinations. Now, somewhere one has to start. The first thing that comes to people's minds when they speak about US CMA, the first thing that comes to their mind is what is the study material that we are supposed to use. Everybody asks me this question: what is the study material that we are supposed to use? As a teacher, as a person who does not sell study materials like these various big brands of coaching classes do, they sell you Hawk, they sell you Becker, they sell you Wiley, they sell you Sargent. I'm not here to sell you study materials. Let me tell you that all the study materials are equally good and they are equally bad. Why are they equally bad? They do not innovate anything. They follow in the footsteps of the IMA exam support package. Why are they good? Well, they are written by experts. They have got a plethora of questions. And without these study materials, passing is very, very complicated. So let me tell you this very, very clearly at the outset of this discussion. You may be using Becker, you may be using Wiley, you may be using Sargent, you may be using Hawk, you may be using Gleim, or you may be using any other study material. You may be using any other study material. All of these study materials are derived from the IMA exam support package. It is the IMA who is the Gangotri Glacier, and all these people, these Beckers and Wileys and Hawks and Sargents and Glimes, are like tributaries of small, small rivers that come out of the ultimate Gangotri Glacier. I hope you understand this. This is very, very important for you to understand. Now, having said this, you will ask which one should I go for? I say pick up anyone. It is essential that you pick up one. Pick up any one. Most popularly, I have seen people use Becker and Hawk. Nowadays, Sargent is coming into the market, and I have a lot of regard for Sargent. In my career, for the past years, many years of working with US CMA, I have had the experience of covering Becker end to end, Sargent end to end, Hawk end to end, and Gleim end to end. I have seen Wiley notes, and as practicing chartered accountants, we have used Wiley publications for US GAAP and IFRS. So Wiley also is a fantastic publication. So the first question, which one to use? The answer is use anyone. Your focus is on selecting the study material. That is your biggest blunder. Focus on the concept. All the study materials will tell you the same conceptual story. Nobody is going to teach you a concept wrong in the study material. The concept is what you have to focus on and not the publication. Once the concept is clear, passing is close by. Is it so that if I study only from Becker, my concepts are going to get cleared? Absolutely not. Study from any book. Your way of understanding the concept and the way it has been taught will influence how you have understood. I told you very well at the beginning of this session, I am not a salesman. I am a subject matter expert, a professionally qualified professor. I am here to tell you how to pass the exam. I am not here to sell you a study material. I am using on an indicative basis Becker study material only on an indicative basis. I do not promote it to be the best study material. I do not promote it to be excellent. I promote it to be a good study material that you could use. And I say that today, if you come to me and you ask me to compare this with Hawk, I will say both are good. I will compare this with anyone and say all are equally good. What is essential is that how you are studying the matter within the study material and how are you going ahead with your preparations. I am using Becker as only a suggestive base so that we are able to tick mark on the names of the various chapters. Now you have to agree with one thing. Whatever is the name of the study material you use, all of them have the same material, all of them cover the same chapters, all of them speak about the same subject matter. So I am interested in the index and nothing beyond it. I hope this is clear to everybody. There are 6 units in part 1 of US CMA. I am going part wise. I'm going to talk about part 1 first. Now, there is this rhetorical question that people keep asking. What is that rhetorical question? Which part of US CMA is easier? If you have this attitude, nothing is easy. Believe me and accept as a gospel truth that US CMA is an easy degree to achieve. Both the parts are achievable. Ask yourself, are there US CMAs in the market today? Yes, they are. Did they get there without passing both the parts? No, they didn't. So, of course, you have to pass both the parts. And they are all passable and they are easy. That is why there are people in the market. People say CA is difficult. We did not fall off the clouds and skies. We are normal people. We gave the exams and we got into the game. That's all about it. That's all about it. So any examination which is being conducted can be passed. It is easy. That is why it is being conducted. Keep that much in mind. But yes, when it comes to syllabus, CMA 1 in size, in volume is greater than CMA 2. This is CMA part 1 from Becker textbook. Look, there are 778 pages to this syllabus currently. Turn around and go to CMA part 2, you will see 516 pages, which shows that CMA 1 is a more voluminous syllabus compared to CMA 2. Is it difficult? I don't think so. It's just slightly vast in size. Keep that much in mind. Now, there are 6 units in both the parts. First of all, don't treat them as different parts. Please understand. This is part 1. It has 6 chapters. This is part 1. It has 6 chapters. You have to make sure that all the 6 chapters are taken care of. Now, everybody in the market, the first thing that they do is that they scare you. There are 2 parts, there are 2 units, there are 6 modules, units, my goodness. And they sell you coaching classes for 1 lakh to 1,20,000. I am not a thief. I am not a black marketer. I am not a bootlegger. I am not one of them. I am not those men. There are 12 chapters. How many chapters? 12 chapters period. In these 12 chapters, part 1 focuses on costing. Part 2 focuses on financial management. That's all you need to know. In part 1, majority focus is on costing. After that, you have a focus on auditing, you have a focus on accounting, and you have a technology related module. That is what you have. The costing that you have in part 1 is a mix of theory and practical. It's a mix of theory and practical. The unit on auditing and internal controls is purely theoretical. Accounting again is theory and practical, and technology is purely theory. Please do not make the blunder of asking yourself this question: how much percent will be theory and how much percent will be practical? Don't make this mistake. I have on my YouTube channel named Apex Academics a video called the 5 big blunders to avoid in US CMA. And one of the blunders is by avoiding to predict whether the paper is going to be theory or practical. If it is theory, will you not solve it? If it is practical, will you not solve it? You want to become a CMA. Don't have these apprehensions. I am weak at theory. I am strong at practical. I am weak at practical. Whatever is your strength and weakness, we have to work on it and you have to pass in the exams. When you buy classes from these big shots, these big so-called educational technology companies that place you in America, that have got 80, 90,000 followers on YouTube, they promise you the world. And when the time comes, they keep nothing in your hands because the sales are over. Be careful. Now, once you have determined which part you want to go for, part 1, 2. Now I'm talking about part 1. You need an order of studies. What do you need? You need an order of studies. The first unit or the first chapter that you should touch in your part 1 is the unit of cost management. This unit is the most basic, is the simplest, although a very, very large unit with respect to costing. This unit goes from basics of costing. This unit, that is cost management, as you can see here, that's your second unit in Becker, and this is your fourth unit in Sargent by the unit number 1400. So in Becker, they are writing over here unit 2 cost management. If this was Sargent, they would have said unit 1400 cost management. Now, this unit of cost management, please understand, this unit of cost management begins with the basics of costing, such as variable costs, fixed costs, and semi-variable costs. One important concept or question over here is identification of semi-variable costs and predicting the cost. Say for example, one unit costs $8, 2 units obviously costing $16. This is a variable cost. One unit costs $100, 2 units also cost $100. This is a fixed cost. But in the event that the cost is going to be semi-variable cost, you have to split between the variable cost portion and the fixed cost portion by using something known as high-low method. This is an important calculation. It has been covered in the exam support package, and there are theory as well as practical questions based on this. The second important concept in cost management, which I deem as very important, is your cost sheet. What do I mean by cost sheet? Nothing but absorption costing. And the most important concept in this is that finished goods, that closing stock of finished goods, are valued at cost of production, which is both variable as well as fixed cost under absorption cost. Immediately the next chapter you will find is marginal costing or variable costing, in which closing stock of finished goods are valued at cost of production, which will include only variable cost of manufacturing. The difference between absorption costing and variable costing is an important question that is asked by the IMA in various numerical problems, and it can be asked as a theory question as well. While we are doing absorption costing, an important concept that many students suffer with is absorption rate and over and under recovery of fixed overheads. The absorption rate and over and under recovery of fixed overheads is an important concept, and many numerical problems are based on this, not just in the IMA exam support package, but you can open up any study material that the market is providing today Baker, Sergeant, Hawk, Wiley, Gleim, etc., etc. And you will find multiple questions on this particular concept. And believe me, at the beginning, many students go a tad bit wrong. For everybody's benefit, for everybody's benefit, and to make sure that you are benefiting from Apex in a way or the other, this particular unit of cost management, where we have discussed the concepts as well as we have solved, the IMA exam support package, we are giving away free of cost to any student who will send us a direct message. We'll give it to you free of cost. We'll give you the YouTube links of the same. You will not be able to locate it on YouTube. We'll have to give you the links. You can use it for your preparation and studies. There is no cost attached to this. Take it free of cost. Do well in life. That's what I want. Right? Now, after this concept is done, comes the grandfather concept in this particular chapter. What is that grandfather concept? Process costing. And in process costing, the most important calculation is that of equivalent units. I have seen many bright students suffer in this calculation. I do not doubt the intelligence of a student, but this particular concept needs to be thoroughly taught and thoroughly understood. Otherwise, it will cause a blimp in your confidence. Don't let that happen to you. Ensure that you know equivalent units really well. It can become a mechanical concept at the end of the day, depending on how you are being taught this concept. And I assure you that there are questions that can be asked on equivalent units and under and over recovery, under and over absorption of your fixed overheads in your final exam. Remember, cost management accounts for 20% of your marking scheme. So it will come with practical and it will come with theory. The theory will be above average difficult and the practical will be moderately to difficult level of difficult. I will not say extremely difficult, reasonably difficult, moderate to reasonably difficult, and theory will be above average level difficult. One chapter that various publications can put either in cost management or they will put it in some other unit is called the allocation of overheads. Allocation of overheads between service departments and your primary production departments. There are multiple ways of doing this calculation. Now, before I go, let me quickly recall this so that you know what I said so far. This unit starts with basics of costing, where variable, fixed cost, semi-variable cost will be an important concept. Identification of semi-variable cost and predicting the cost by using high-low method will be an important calculation. Absorption costing is important, where you will go for format of the cost sheet. Many questions will be asked to you as what is the value of COGS, what is the value of cost of production, so on and so forth. Baker though has multiple questions, Sargent has multiple questions on this. Calculation of closing stock of finished goods will play an important role under both absorption and marginal costing. You need to understand that in absorption costing, cost of production is what you are going to value your closing stock of finished goods at, but cost of production will have both variable as well as fixed. And in marginal costing, it will have only variable cost of manufacturing. Absorption rate of under and over recovery of fixed overheads will play a vital role in this chapter, and also process costing with respect to equivalent units will be important. Now going ahead in this chapter, process costing in itself is an important unit, I believe. You have equivalent units, you have joint costs, and you have byproduct costing. There are various methods of joint cost allocation, but when it comes to byproduct, it is nothing but the byproduct selling price is reduced from the cost of main product. Selling price of byproduct is subtracted from the cost of the main product. That is what you need to understand for byproduct. But for joint costing, joint cost, joint product, You will have volume, you will have net realizable value. There are so many ways of going about this particular calculation. Equivalent units, joint products, byproduct costing are very, very, very important aspects of this particular unit. Do not leave a single one out in option. Please don't make that mistake. For better clarity, solve exam support package along with one of your study materials, whichever ones you're referring. Now, one important part is allocation of service department cost to production department. There are various methods of doing this calculation. There are various methods. There is direct, there is step down, there is reciprocal, so on and so forth. You have to understand what kind of data is given in the question. Depending on the drafting of the question, the method is selected. Keep one thing in mind. This can be a very good essay question. Similarly, joint product and byproduct can be MCQs, but it is possible that equivalent units can be both MCQ as well as essay. In this September-October window, I've had some of my students tell me that equivalent units featured in the September and October exam window. It was a question that had recurred in the examinations. So I'm going to tell you not to take a chance with that. They are asking this, ensure that you note. This more or less takes care of the practical aspects of the unit cost management. Now to speak about the theoretical aspects of the unit cost management. Supply chain management and business process improvement as big chapters are theoretically motivated questions. Now the problem with theory, I'm going to give you a clear hint, a clear suggestion once and for all. See, when you are doing a practical sum, you will get the answer via calculation. But when you are doing a theory-based MCQ, the options may be confusing. So you have to logically eliminate all wrong options and justify to yourself the correct answer. This is what you need to do when it comes to a theory-based MCQ. They will not tell you this in any webinar. They will tell you that as a US CMA, you can make 10 lakhs a year. But until you know this, are you going to become a US CMA? Are you going to pass? चांद तारे बेचने नहीं है, पहले रियलिटी बेचो, सीएमए बनाओ पहले, उसके बाद मिल जाएगी 8-10 लाख की नौकरी. बगैर सीएमए के ठेंगा नहीं मिलने वाला. इस बात को पल्ले बांध लीजिए भैया. वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट. So very important aspect. Now, having said this, I will circulate a few lectures of Apex Academics where we eliminate logically all of these, wrong answers. At Apex Academics, we do no less than 700 to 800 minimum MCQs before we send our students to the exams. 700 to 800 MCQs are done. MCQs and essays are done at Apex, where we coach the student how to mutually eliminate the options in theory MCQs. Some of our video lectures I will circulate for those who send a direct message. I will put them on YouTube for you to watch. Easily watch it and get your practice done. For part 1 also, part 2 also, I'll circulate. In doing what you do, whichever study material you have, first things first, you read the book for theory. After you read the book, you need to solve the MCQs. And when it comes to solving the MCQs, whichever study material you are using, after you click on the answer, the study material gives you a justification of the answer, an explanation. It is essential that you understand the explanation and don't just say that your answer is right and move on it. It's very important to understand the explanation. And let me tell you, sometimes the explanation given by the study materials is absolutely third class, is a third rate explanation. I mean, a kid can do better. They explain some concepts horrendously poorly. This is where experts like Apex can come into the picture to support you. Right? Now, this was all about your fourth unit. Now let's go. I mean, your second unit in Becker cost management, your fourth unit in Sargent. Now, let's go and speak about the unit called performance management. This should be the second unit that you do. Should be the second chapter that you study. Performance management is broken down into 5 parts: standard costing, transfer pricing, return on investments and return on asset calculations. That is performance
He is not
measures.
coming. He's go to the wife has an interview. He'll come 1:30, but I'll not stay at that time. Maybe I'll leave at 1 o'clock. Tomorrow you are coming, no? Then tomorrow give no issue. Let him come tomorrow. Otherwise I'll take. आएगा बोला 11 बजे आएगा बोला ना अभी मैसेज किया
Right? Happens. These calculations. Then you have theoretical concepts and one very important concept called the balance scorecard. There are various theory concepts such as responsibility centers, etc. And then there is balance scorecard. Standard costing can be MCQs and it can be essays as well. This time, in the September-October window, labor variances had come for essay type questions. Labor variances had come for essay questions. For the benefit of all, standard costing explanation of the concepts free has been made available on YouTube. All you have to do is request Apex via direct message. You can see the number right here. Just send a WhatsApp on this. Request for the standard costing lectures and you will get your standard costing conceptual lectures free of cost from Apex Academy. Absolutely free. In standard costing, the question is simple. What will be the variance, adverse or favorable? What will be the impact of certain variances on other variances? This is very, very conceptual. If you do not have conceptual clarity in standard costing, you are going to be in a world of trouble because you have to have the conceptual clarity of saying that favorable material price variance may lead to adverse material usage variance due to wastages used by cheaper materials, and adverse material usage variance can lead to adverse labor efficiency variance because the laborer will take more time to work on an inferior quality material because you have favorable material price variance, the material was cheaper for you. This chain being established by your faculties for you or by me for you at Apex is very, very important. I have established it for all my students at Apex Academics. They know this well. They have notes. Do you? If you don't, refer to our free lectures. Next is transfer pricing. What is transfer pricing? Department A has to give some goods to Department B within the same company. One company cannot earn a profit from its own department. So you have to send it at cost or at a price below the selling price. What is going to be that selling price? Is it going to be a cost plus? Is it going to be negotiated? What is it going to be? So transfer pricing has got certain theory aspects and most of the calculations will be based on recovery of your contribution margin. That is what transfer pricing generally dwells in. Again, I will not say that it is very, very conceptual. It is conceptual. It is easy, but you have to understand the basics, that is sales minus variable cost is contribution. All the decisions will be taken on the base of contribution. So you need to be well versed with your calculations. Then come ROI, ROA calculations for performance measurement. Well, here you use some ratios for your calculation. Now, this can be similar to your part 2, unit 1, financial statements analysis. Part 2, financial statements analysis has ratio analysis as topics. So I'll talk about that when I get there. Here again, you have to apply the formula. But in this, an important theory question comes. What should be the measure of performance to be used for a particular manager? For a production manager, will you use what? For a purchase manager, you will use what? So on and so forth. Why is this important? Because how do you judge the performance of each of these managers? In turn, decides whether or not they have been successful at doing their task. And as a CMA, you are supposed to judge and adjudicate the same. Theory concepts, responsibility center, etc. Benchmarking. There's another concept here called benchmarking in this chapter. Read the book that you have. It can be any, as I repeat for the infinite time. It could be Becker, it could be Sargent, it could be Hawk, it could be Wiley, it could be Klein. It could be any book. Read it thoroughly and do the MCQs. Don't let any salesman on any WhatsApp group convince you that one study material is better than the other. Please, he's a salesman. He's getting money to sell that book to you. He'll sell his product only. I am not getting money by selling you any books. I am not a salesman. I am a teacher. I will tell you all the books are good. At the end of the day, they are imparting knowledge. Whichever book you buy it with confidence. Believe in it. Read it thoroughly and solve the MCQs nicely. Wherever there are doubts, use our free resources. For anything beyond that, well, you will have to join. Now, then comes balance scorecard. Balance scorecard is the balance between qualitative and quantitative measures of performance management and adjudication. How is a balance scorecard to be constructed? What does it look like? A paragraph or two on that as an essay question can be deemed to be an important part of this particular unit, performance management. I believe that performance management is a unit that you have to use to pass. There is no doubt about it. So cost management we spoke about, performance management was the second unit. So what was our order of studies? We start first with cost management. Second, we go to performance management. Alternatively, people can suggest that you do budgeting, planning and forecasting before you do performance management. And I also support this theory. I'm okay with anyone happening first. What is the only justification of doing this is that when you understand budgeting, when you understand forecasting, standard costing will make more sense to you because standard costing is based on budgeted data versus actual data. That is what standard costing is all about. And planning, budgeting, forecasting is a lovely unit because I tell you that the MCQs are very, very, very easy. There are many calculations that are based on probability. My dear friends, by probability, I am not asking you to do number of A upon number of S, thereby determining probability percentage. I am not asking you to determine event horizon. I am not asking you to determine sample space. I am not asking you to do any of that. Probability means you will be given like this. To earn $10,000, the probability is 0.4. To earn $14,000, the probability is 0.2. To earn $16,000, the probability is 0.4. So how much will you earn? You multiply probability by the cash flow, right? And you take a total of this. So how much is this? 4,000, 2,800 and 6,400. It comes to 13,200. Question is over. This is the as easy as they get. As easy as they get. For unit planning, budgeting and forecasting, for the unit planning, budgeting and forecasting, which is the third odd unit in Becker, the 1200 unit in Sargent, I will tell you one thing. First, solve your exam support package. First, solve your exam support package. That is very essential. Exam support package has a plethora of questions on this particular variety of questions that I have kept in front of. The second thing that you have in this chapter, which is again an important concept, is that of learning curve. What is the funda of learning curve? The funda of learning curve is when the unit's production doubles, the time to manufacture it comes down. So for one unit, if you are taking 4 hours, for 2 units, you are taking 3.8 hours. then for 4 units you are taking a certain number of hours. What I'm trying to say is there will be a learning curve attached. There will be a learning curve attached. Say for example, 1 unit takes 8 hours and there is a 90%, there's a 90% LC given to you. So 9 8s are 72, 7.2 hours will be taken for 2 units. 2 will become 4. Now 7.2 multiplied by 90%, which will be 6.48 hours for the fourth unit. You need to understand that it works in doubles. It does not go from 1 to 2 to 3. It has to be double the number of units. And for the purposes of your US CMA, you have only double units calculation. So 4 will become 8. So 6.48 multiplied by 90% this time around, it will become 5.832. So they'll ask you, how much time will it take to make 8 units? How much time will it take to make the 8th unit? So on and so forth. That is your learning curve. What is that? That is your learning curve. You need to understand that. After this particular unit on planning, budgeting, and forecasting has got many calculations with respect to budgeting. Meaning what? They will ask you to calculate cash balances and cash budgets in certain large MCQs. Whether or not a borrowing is required, what is the minimum operational cash balance to be maintained? On the basis of this concept, many questions are asked. Important, I would say, as a concept, as a professional CMA, if you don't know budgeting, you are not a CMA. If you don't do and if you don't know budgeting, you are not a CMA. The primary role of a CMA in industry is going to be the formulation of various budgets. They can be purchase budgets, they can be sales budgets, they can be production budgets, they can be, manufacturing budgets, they can be, your manpower payment budgets, they can be anything. But budgeting plays a key role in your entire journey as a CMA. Please keep that much in mind. So budgeting is very important. And trust me, the IMA also knows this. The IMA tests you a plenty on the concepts of budgeting. Please be careful about that when you come to your, unit on planning, budgeting, and forecasting. Strategic planning, theoretical, budgeting concepts, theory, practical, forecasting techniques, mostly practical, budgeting methodologies, theory and practical, annual profit plans and supporting schedules, mix of theory and practical, top level planning and analysis, mixed of theory and practical. At this juncture, this particular unit is a healthy mix of theory and practical. This healthy mix requires you to have conceptual clarity. In this, which are the most important, modules or I would say types of questions. First one, as I said, learning curve. Second one, as I said, probability based questions. Third one, as I said, budget formulation. They will give you a budget and they will ask you the closing cash balance of a particular month. The fourth one in this particular concepts in itself is learning curve, probability, budget formulation. And then the fourth one that I say is always going to be your theoretical kind of concepts. And in budget formulation, there is one more kind of method you can use, that is for decision making. Will you go with alternative A or will you go with alternative B? What is more feasible for you financially? That's your costing of part one of CM. That's your costing of part one of CM. So we've spoken about costing. Now you should do cost management, planning, budgeting, forecasting, and performance management, either in this order, or you can go for cost management, you can go for performance management, or you can go for planning, budgeting, and forecasting. This has to be your order of execution. This has to be your order of execution. Please keep this much in mind. Now people will ask, okay, I've executed by this order. Now what should I do? What should be by next? Here, I leave it to the students. But of course, I give them an ample advice. Of course, there is no doubt. Of course, there is no doubt that you have to start with cost management. you have to go to planning, budgeting, forecasting, and then you have to go to performance management. Of course, these can be interchangeable, as I said. This is the end of costing in your syllabus of part 1. End of costing. Here I recommend people to take up audit and internal control, which is unit 5, or you can call it unit 1500 if you're a Sargent user, unit 5 if you're a Baker Hogg Wiley user. This is an immensely complicated and theory-based affair. You will not understand what is the difference between option A and option B and option C and option D. They are all so confusing, I tell you. They are all so confusing. For the benefit of everybody. Now look at the support that Apex is giving. Cost management, that is 1400 unit, or you can say unit 2. We are giving to you free of cost for concepts and MCQs, selected MCQs. Performance management standard costing will be available to all those who send us a direct message. For audit and internal control, our sessions on MCQs, we will allow you to attend for a marginal fee. We will allow you to attend them for a marginal fee, because we have noticed that this can be the downfall of a student. Cost management and audit and internal controls can be downfall of the student. So we will make sure that the student is allowed to attend only one particular unit if they want. Selective unit we will give. And in this selective unit, we will do MCQs from 2 study materials. Yes, you heard me right. We will do MCQs from 2 study materials. Apex Academics is the only service provider in the market today, in the US CMA market, that uses 2 study materials with its students and solves all the study materials cover to cover. Be it any other service provider, no matter how big, no matter how fancy, they give you one study material and their faculties do not solve the MCQs end to end. They do a charity, they do like 5, 6, 10, 15 MCQs and they basically push you off and say, do it on your own. We do not do that. We solve the MCQs end to end because we don't care about hourly profits. We never will. At the end of the day, our objective is passing. So we are going to support in whatever possible. We are going to support in whatever way possible the students to achieve the passing. So at a very, very marginal fee, at an unbelievably throwaway fee, we will admit students to our MCQ revision sessions, which will cover audit and internal control, which will cover planning, budgeting, forecasting, which will cover performance management, and of course, which will cover the accounting unit. But before I go to the accounting unit, I want to talk about audits and internal control for some time. Now, audits and internal control have got a plethora of questions. First, important concept is audit opinion. Second is internal controls and its types. Here you will have access controls. You will have physical controls. You will have boundary controls. You will have input controls. You will have output controls. You will have process controls. There are so many. There are so many and they are all confusing. Then there is compliance in this. What is compliance? You have specific questions on Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002. You have specific questions with respect to audit committee and corporate governance. You have various acts such as FCPA. You have got various acts that you have got to understand thoroughly and then appear for the compliance part of this. So here it is not just audit and internal control. It is to an extent, there is a, I would say, a small aspect of law as well. There's a small aspect of law as well. Please keep that much in mind. A small aspect of law. At Apex Academics, all of these are done in the form of charts. They are done in the form of charts. And here, to just show you an example of these charts, just hold on to your guns. Hold on to your guns. So if we were to take a look at the notes that we provide, right? If we were to take a look at the notes that Apex provides here. So this is of course our student LMS that gets circulated after every lecture. Now for Becker, we have got, I mean Becker as in Becker as study material. And for this unit per se, internal control. Now, we have created multiple theoretical charts, etc. for the learning. Now, hold on 1 second. I'll just show you. Just a second. So, this is an example of our notes and charts. So, what we essentially do is build such charts within the class so that you are able to finish and memorize with respect to your theoretical questions, and then all you have to do is pick out from the chart and just select the right alternatives. This is available for almost all the theory subjects that are there in your US CMA part. Everything, part one, everything we cover by the help of these kind of charts. So these charts are essential. They help you to remember your learning. So as I was saying, there will be audit opinion. There will be various types of internal controls. There will be case studies based on the various types of internal controls. It's very essential for you to know that. And then there will be compliance related things where you have to do SOX, where you have to take into consideration, your FCPA, you have to take into consideration your audit committee and corporate governance. All these items you have to take care of. Everything for this particular unit on audit, internal controls and governance, we have got charts designed with MCQs. This is what makes life simple for our students at Apex Academics. This unit in itself, I deem this to be a difficult to very difficult unit because of the confusion that students face in selecting the alternatives. This is what you have to focus on in this particular unit. And believe me, these case studies are a ripe essay type scenario for you. They are an essay type question for you. You need to keep this much in mind. Now, having said that, I go to the fifth unit, the penultimate unit, which is your first unit on accounting and financial reporting. Now, this is a very vast unit. It starts off with reading and understanding financial statements with a special focus on the cash flow statement. Then it goes to asset accounting, tangible and intangible. Then it goes to financial instruments. It speaks about inventories. It speaks about debtors. It then takes a turn and goes to leases. It goes to revenue recognition. It goes to deferred taxes. And it also covers up concepts such as employee stock option plans and buybacks. All of these are covered in this very vast module where it is hardcore accountancy. Revenue recognition is very, very important. Leasing is very, very important. Asset accounting is very, very important, and financial instruments are very, very important. These are the most important aspects of this particular unit. Does that mean that ESOP and deferred tax is not important? They are just equally important. But from a learning perspective, there is more effort needed on these particular units. And in asset accounting, what do you study? You study revaluation model. You study componentization, that is component accounting based depreciation questions. For financial instruments, the various three types of accounting for your debt instruments, that is held to maturity, will be done at amortized cost. The available for sale will be held at fair value through OCI, and the one for trading will be held at fair value through income statement, or in India, as we call in Ind AS 109, fair value through profit and loss statement. This is entirely based on IFRS, whereby in inventory there is a US GAAP based calculation for calculation of ceiling and floor limits for inventory. So cash flow important, assets important. How do you do this? This unit you require a support, plus you require MCQs. I rate this unit as a difficult unit. You might be in luck, because starting from this coming week, Apex Academics is going to hold specific lectures for its students for this particular unit. At a minor fee, you will be inducted into these lectures, whereby you will not only get our thorough conceptual explanations, but you will also be getting our MCQ solving exposure, which will cover 2 study materials, as I said. What those study materials are, how you will get the questions, leave it to us. We'll ensure that you get the best from us. And finally, we come to the chapter on technology and analytics. Now, technology and analytics is impossible to memorize. It is an impossible unit to memorize. It is purely theory. This theoretical unit has been broken down into charts by us at Apex. These charts, my dear ladies and gentlemen, I have gotten the feedback from my students. They solved Becker and Sargent study materials after using my charts for this particular unit that was on technology and analytics. And the feedback that I received, was all the MCQs asked in any of the study material are thoroughly and entirely covered in this particular charts that you have given. Please take a look. This is how our charts look for the last unit, that is 1600 unit. This is what our charts look like. These are handwritten charts made by me based on my understanding of the various units, based on the important MCQs. Anybody who consumes these charts, I give you a guarantee, is certainly going to have a very good chance at scoring well on MCQs. So audit trails, right? Then management reports, everything theoretical is put out in charts so that it is easy for the students to memorize. And all these charts, lecture on lecture basis, are provided to my Apex students. Of course, if you would like to have these charts, all you need to do is get in touch with us at Apex, and we will ensure that the best possible reaches you, along with the right kind of coaching support that is required for doing these various exams. Be rest assured about it. There are various topics like cryptocurrency, database management, internal controls, foreign currency, that are there in this technology and analytics module. The most important ones are database management. The most important ones are internal controls related questions that are in this 6th unit. The 6th unit is a large unit, so large, only these many marks. So charts are the way to do it. I have seen maximum students leave out this 6th unit in option and they are not able to pass because questions are asked. So if you have the charts with you and these charts are being made available to you at a highly discounted price, these charts will enable you to score really good marks in this particular unit. For the pricing of the charts, and it's absolutely throwaway pricing, please contact us on a direct message. We will ensure that you are given the the product list, and you can pick and choose for your passing whatever you require. And I guarantee you, you will laugh when you see our rates. They are that economical. With this, my sermon for part one comes to an end. But my sermon now begins to talk to you about how much to study for which part. This is going to be an important discussion. Now, before I begin, keep one thing in mind. When it comes to CMA, when it comes to CMA, there are two types of students that you have. One is students not yet working, and second are the students who are working professionals. It is very difficult for a working professional to pass the CMA because full time he's at office. Students have their load of college. First time ever heard of in the market, Apex Academics has started batches from 10:30 p.m., 10:45 p.m. to 1 a.m. to suit the working professionals. And these are taken every day. My dear friends, these are taken every day, Monday to Friday. What happens is working professionals are given Saturday, Sunday classes for 4 hours. Then Monday to Friday, they don't do anything. This is what the market does. What does Apex do? Apex gives you Monday to Friday, 10:30 p.m. to at least 1 or 1:30 p.m. So you have 2 to 3 hours of daily coaching on Monday to Friday. That in itself is 10 hours. Saturday, Sunday, you have 4 to 6 hours of coaching. You have 4 to 6 hours of coaching dedicatedly for part 1 and part 2, which makes our weekly coaching. Our weekly coaching goes for some 10 hours here and these 12 hours. So we are looking at 22 hours of weekly coaching for working professionals. We make it happen because we have the will to make it happen, and not just these flimsy 4 hours on the weekends where the professor doesn't even care to check whether you have understood or you have not understood. Right? This happens at many places. Happens at many places. As a matter of fact, it must have happened to you also. Have you been with a large institute? It must have happened. I'm not the one to comment and say bad things about a brand. I'm saying general, this is what happens. Right? Okay. Let's go ahead. How many hours to study? Well, minimum 2, maximum 8. Can I pass US CMA 1 in 1 month? I have recently, unfortunately, not been able to clear. My score is between 300 to 350. Can I pass US CMA 1 in 1 month? The answer is yes, you can. What do you need? You need conceptual support. Whatever concept have gone wrong for you, those concept you need to understand properly, and immediately you need to do MCQs on those concepts. It's very, very essential for you to do it. Keep one thing in mind. The student who has scored between 250 to 330, this student has done the majority of the syllabus, but still has problems with some concepts. This is true for my students also. This is true for any student. This is true for any student. So if you have unfortunately not gotten through this time around, you're planning on giving your first part. First of all, go to Feb. Use all of Jan to study. Give it in Feb, use Jan to study. If you are wanting to, you're free to join Apex Academics for its doubt solving, for its specifically MCQ solving batch at a thoroughly discounted price. It will be made available to you along with our special curated question banks and 4 mocks that we conduct. Next, conceptual support and MCQ. Next, you have to do MCQ solving yourself every day for at least 2 hours. Every day, at least 2 hours, you have to do MCQ solving. And in a week, you have to make sure that you are studying 5 to 7 essay questions. This, if you are able to do, you are able to pass your US CMA in in your second attempt or so, very much in the Jan and Feb exam window. I hope everybody agrees with this statement. I hope everybody understands where I'm coming from. आई एम नॉट पेडलिंग टू यू स्टडी मटेरियल, मैं कोई स्मगलर नहीं हूं कि मैं आपको बोलूंगा कि आप मेरे पास आओ और आप पास ही हो जाओगे क्योंकि मेरा स्टडी मटेरियल सबसे बेहतरीन है। एब्सोल्युटली नॉट, एब्सोल्युटली नॉट। Come to me and I commit you one thing, I will work harder than you. Come to me and I commit you one thing, you will understand better than any other institute in the market. Come to me and I commit to you that you will have better chances of passing than anybody else in the market. Our results have proven it. Our results have proven it, and they will continue to prove it by the grace of God Almighty. We will ensure that if you are coming, you are getting to solve no less than 700 MCQs, you are getting 5 mocks, you are getting doubt solving sessions, and you are getting personalized timetable. And that you are getting personalized timetable. I can help you connect with some of my students who are given personalized timetable before their examinations. All our students actually were given a personalized timetable to suit their strengths and weaknesses. The same will be done for you to make sure that your your exam performance is planned and based on it suits your strengths and weaknesses. All of this will be done. Over and above this, it so happens to students that they sometimes require a friendly face, they require a helpful hand. Believe me, in Apex Academics, you will have both of that. A friendly face, surely, and a helpful hand, even more than a friendly face. Because we understand the value of support. We understand that it's difficult for working professionals to take leave. We understand that it is difficult for students to bunk college. And in this, US CMA is an added responsibility. But let me tell you this. The IMA is going to increase your fees, is going to change your syllabus. These are the two last attempts where you have to get through. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in the rut. Otherwise, where are you going to be? You're going to be stuck in the rut. My dear people, attendees, I hope you all can give me a thumbs up on your Zoom devices for this particular statement that I just made. That if pass होना है तो अभी होना है, अटक जाओगे तो अटक जाओगे, पास होना है तो अभी होना है, अटक जाओगे तो अटक जाओगे. There can be no room for excuses. Right? Now, I'm done with your part one. I'll take a small 2-minute break in this session. I request you all not to leave the session, and we come back and we start the discussion of part two, how to complete. I request you all to stay tuned, wait, and we take ourselves to the part two US CMA discussion. Now, at this particular point in time, I will shift over. I will shift over and start speaking to you about your group two. But before I speak to you about group two, I got many doubts. I got many calls from students asking me one particular question. He said, tell us the breakup of these 500 marks. I said, this is a black box. You will have various people giving you various theories. People say that you have to score 50 MCQs correctly. That's not the right thing. You have to have a 50% scaled score on MCQs. It is noticed that, and I have seen it in my experience, students scoring 270, 290, even 310 marks, their essay has not opened. People always study with a minimalistic attitude. How much do I minimum need for essays to open? Are you bargaining for buying vegetables? Are you bargaining with the local fisherwoman to buy the fresh cash of Bombay ducks which you're going to take home? No. This is your life. This is your career. At Apex, I have a simple solution that I give my students. 330 is what you are supposed to score, bare minimum, and then no matter what happens, even if the heavens say no, still your essay will open. People do not study essay type questions. This is probably the biggest pain that I have as a professor. They don't study essay type questions. They say dekhi jayegi, we'll see it later. That's not how it is. Essays are nothing but a cluster of MCQs in a case study. You have to write something in your essay questions to get some marks. Remember that MCQ will contribute 75% of your scaled score, and the other 25 will come from essay, where it is necessary that you have to pass in essay also. You have to get that score out of essays only on the basis of MCQs. Arithmetically, you can pass this exam because you need a 72% scaled score to pass this exam. 360 divided by 500 is a 72% scaled score. However, you cannot be reliant on the fact that I can only do MCQs and pass. You will have difficulties. Make sure that essays are being done. What are essays? Essays are conceptual questions. Whatever your faculties have conceptually taught you has to be written down in sentences for essays. You can interact with my Apex students and they will testify to the fact that we do essay questions in class. And I can bluntly say that many service providers today in the market, they do not do essay questions. They leave it to the students and students don't understand what is to be done. There is a particular way of approaching an essay, a scientific way of approaching it. We ensure that that particular way, that particular technique of essay questions is followed. Because remember one thing, if MCQs are the life of your CMA exam, essay questions are in a way or the other the food of that life. Keep that much in mind. If MCQs are the body, the essays are the food. Why? They will help the body to become stronger. When you study MCQs, I always say this to my students. As a matter of fact, maybe yesterday, day before yesterday, I don't remember, I said this to my students, that if you are doing 30 to 50 MCQs, after that do 2 essay questions, or do 2 hours of MCQs and then go and do essays for 1 hour. What happens to most of the students? They come in for their exams, and by the time their essay window opens up, they've either run out of time or they are so exhausted doing the MCQs because they don't have mocks practice, that the essay seems like a Mount Everest for them and they are unable to understand. To pass the essay, you need 10 minutes of reading time. You need 25 minutes of response time. You need 10 minutes of, further checking time. This is 45 minutes in itself. Minimum you need this. If you have this much time and you are able to do justice to the questions that are being posed in front of you, I see no reason why you cannot cross 400 marks. Recently, I had a student of my academy who studied hard for a month and a half. Her score was 410. I have an SY BCom boy whose score is 390. I have a working professional who has no time to study. His score is 360. In the past, when I was associated with large institutes, I had students scoring up to 420, 400, multiples of 400, and I had a crowd of people that used to fit between 390 to 420. I had a crowd of people. And I had a specific batch of guys that no matter what happened, 360 was always going to be their score. So these scores we have achieved and we are taking this into Apex today. For me, passing of the student is essential. So MCQ practice coupled with essay, only this ensures that you are going to pass your exams. Without this, it's going to be pretty difficult. Pretty difficult. Now I come to part 2. Part 2 is beautiful. Part 2 is easy. Part 2 can finish like this. I guarantee you, if you all have the options of giving part 1 or part 2, and you are confused, you are scared, you are saying which one to give, I have prepared for both. You want to build your confidence, you want to be stronger at it, go give 2, pass it, come back, you are automatically winning 50% of the battle, and the 100% battle is done in your head. You are so strong, you're so ready, give part 1, absolutely fine. But for people who, despite the best motivation, despite all the practice, they still feel, no, yaar, I want the easier way out. What should I do? Go for part 2. Part 2 is easy. Part 2 is doable. Part 2 is winnable. Part 2 is all about strategic financial management. Part 2 is all about strategic financial management. Now, what is part 2? part 2 in itself. Now, if I were to, just show you, or rather, we'll just draw it up here. So, part 2, let me specifically speak about the theory aspects of part 2 first. In 100% theory aspects, you will have enterprise risk management and ethics, that is professional ethics, as two chapters that will be here. Enterprise risk management for 10% of your score, and ethics comes for 15% to 20% of your score. My dear friends, 2 units totally theory, where the level of questions is average to moderate. It is not even difficult. Supported by charts of Apex. I guarantee you on public platform that my students of Apex Academics Part 2 will think of Part 2 as a practically achievable, very, very doable group, because of these charts that are going to cover up 2 major units and indirectly 30, 25 to, you can say, 30% of their syllabus. They will be able to revise in one day alone. How? Because of the charts. The charts will be provided where all the concepts are revised. Then all they have to do is go through the MCQs and write the essays in the charts. The charts are so designed that if you read it thoroughly, memorize it properly, your essays also can be cracked by using the same charts. Please keep this much in mind. So ERM and ethics, pure theory, rely on charts of Apex. These charts are available at a hefty discount. These charts are available at a hefty discount. Kindly leave us a direct message and we will ensure that the charts are reaching to you in a protected format so that you are able to use or access these charts. Right? These are the theory aspects. Now, in your US CMA, in your US CMA 2, the first unit is called Financial Statements Analysis. It comprises of ratio analysis, spatial issues such as foreign currency translation and foreign currency conversion. It has a hint of revenue recognition. This is what this unit is about. Financial statements analysis can have excellent questions on theory. I mean excellent, I mean they're conceptually rich questions. When it comes to practical, most of the times you will be calculating the ratios. Calculation of ratios is very important, formula driven, and believe me, it is something that is going to help you to pass in this group. I will check with my team if our ratio analysis, we have got multiple MCQ videos of ratio analysis. I will make at least one video free of cost for you. All those interested, leave us a direct message. I'll give you one of them free of cost, because after all, we also have to ensure our survival. But I'll ensure that one comes to you free of cost so that you understand our method of doing MCQs. And even if you're not able to join us for whatever reason, you're able to at least use our method and solve MCQs accordingly, so that I guarantee you by our method, which nobody else has in the market, you will pass. Use our method, you will pass. I guarantee you that. Because we don't leave anything in option. We solve everything. For us, the syllabus is over only when all the MCQs are over. Until then, it's on. We keep solving. Right? You must have that determination, that grit. You have got a unit on investment decisions and capital budgeting. Here, when it comes to investment decision and capital budgeting, the first most important aspect is time value of money. How to apply the present value and the annuity factors. Very important. Second, there are methods of taking capital budgeting decisions, such as net present value, payback period, discounted payback period, IRR, profitability index, etc. All of these methods can feature in MCQs, with NPV being and payback period and IRR being important ones. For NPV method, calculation of, and for payback period method also, calculation of operational cash flow from asset is a very important concept within investment decisions and capital budgeting. This concept is thoroughly taught at Apex. Students are thoroughly coached at Apex for the same. And and I guarantee you, after you are done with this unit with us, it comes for 10% to you can say 12%. Guarantee you, these are in your pocket. These are in your pocket. Please keep that much in mind. Finally, we come to the last two units of group 2. My dear friends, last two units of group 2 are the big boys. You can call them the Kohli and Rohit Sharma, the Karan Arjun, the Kane and Undertaker of this particular group. I will not say no, but corporate finance in itself is one hell of a unit. Thoroughly conceptual, traditional financial management, conceptual, formula based, and trying to the core. The first unit is risk and return, which enables you to establish a relationship between risk, that is arithmetic mean. I beg your pardon. I'm so sorry. Risk being standard deviation sigma and return being arithmetic mean x bar. You are able to put in a relationship between them. You are able to express that relationship. You are able to calculate portfolio risk and portfolio return. Not only this, you are able to calculate the various holding period returns. You are able to calculate with the help of risk and return a cost of equity known as capital asset pricing model is also discussed over here. Then comes long-term financial management part 1 and 2, where one important aspect is cost of capital. In cost of capital, you have cost of debt, which is KD is equal to I into bracket 1 minus T. Then you will have cost of equity by using Gordon's model. Gordon uses the perpetual growth model, where P0 is equal to D1 upon KE minus G, where it is not possible for high growth companies. In all cases, KE has to be greater than G. You have got your cost of preference share capital, which is nothing but your preference dividend because it is after tax. And taking a weighted average of all of this, you have got weighted average cost of capital. Important aspect, thoroughly necessary to be learned. Along with this, you will have capital structure theories, because in financial ratios, in financial statement ratios, you have a concept called leverages. Leverage ratios of financial and operating leverage will come to play in long-term financial management, whereby you will also select a capital structure for your company by using probably Miller-Modigliani's model, or probably you will use some other economist's model depending on how the questions are asked. Raising capital, primarily theory, it speaks about the sources of funds and explains how capital is raised from the market. Working capital management is another one big hell of a chapter. You will have got inventory management, debtors management, creditors management, cash management, overall working capital management. It's a superb chapter. It's one hell of a chapter. And I tell you that solving this is going to be a privilege at Apex. Then comes corporate restructuring, which is generally mergers and amalgamations. A big chapter, complicated calculations, a very juicy chapter at CA final level, and at CMA also they have made it an important chapter. Then comes the big boy, international finance, where we look at foreign exchange and derivatives. While in derivatives, we don't go to the depth of it, we don't have the derivation of the Black and Scholes model and the likes of that. The CMA syllabus for derivatives is very intricately drafted and designed so that the user can have a basic understanding of when to go long, when to go short, what is the meaning of a derivative, so on and so forth. Corporate finance is a very, very important and a very, very vast unit which comes for 20% of your overall score. Finally, the last unit in part 2 is decision analysis. In decision analysis, first we use marginal costing for decision making, that is cost, volume, profit analysis. Here you will answer questions such as make or buy, shutdown point. You will have whether to process further, whether to further process or outsource, whether to rent or to buy. All of these aspects will be taken into consideration in CVP analysis. One of the best chapters in costing ever, which plays on the concept of relevant costing. Marginal analysis is purely your marginal costing, whereby sales minus variable cost is contribution minus fixed cost is equal to profit. Then you will go in for your PV ratio, saying that PV ratio is equal to contribution upon sales into 100. Then after this, you can go for EBITDA margin ratio. You can have so many other ratios to be calculated, which will enable you to have a grip over your marginal costing. There is PV ratio, there is break-even point. There are many calculations, and this is something that I determine as an important chapter. One part of decision analysis has got a thorough amount of economics in it, which uses elasticity as a concept for MCQs. It uses elasticity as a concept for MCQs. So I request that this particular unit, decision analysis, which also comes for 20 marks in the exams, be taken very seriously, and its theory is specifically be looked into before things get difficult for you. At Apex Academics, recently there has been a batch that has been started for part 2. There are seats available on this particular batch. I urge you to reach out to us, believe our prices, because that's how economical we are, and take advantage of this opportunity and become a US CMA by the grace of God and your hard work by May, June. So you're already a CMA in May, June when the syllabus changes. The importance of mocks cannot be unprecedentedly forgotten. At Apex, we are going to do 5 mocks per student so that they are confident in facing the exams. How to make a timetable, how to study? Well, you need 6 hours of sleep. I'll tell you this, make it accordingly. First of all, you need 4 to 6 hours of sleep, right? That leaves you 18 hours of awake in this world. Out of these 18 hours, dedicated 10 hours to your studies. What you are left with is 8 hours. 8 hours can be used for other things. This is for students. What do the professionals do? Professionals, every day you need to come from 10:30 to 1:30. That's 3 hours a day for 5 days a week. That's 15 hours. And on the weekends, 4.5 into 2, which is 9 hours, which is about 24 hours of studying will be done by you. This is very essential. Very essential. Any direct request for make a timetable for us doing this, doing that, etc. is done and supported by our counselors at Apex Academics. Is done and done and supported. The counselors will help you out. If in any case you're not able to reach this number, you will find me, the owner of Apex Academics, out here for you. With this, I conclude my how to study, what is important discussion on this particular syllabus. And now I'm open for questions. If anybody has questions to ask, please go ahead and ask these questions. I'll stop the recording because your questions can be personal. They need not go up on YouTube.